Dear Chosen One, there is an invisible war being fought inside of you, and you may not have even realized it. It's not swords, shouts, or explosions. It's subtler than that. It's a silent battle between your true identity and the old programming that still tries to govern you. It's as if something inside you is resisting your awakening. And that's why you're hearing these words today. Because something inside you has already taken the throne. And now, the one who dominated you for so long must bow or perish. Be ready to rule, but not the throne of the world. Not yet, but the throne you've taken, more important than any external power. It's the throne of your soul, and that changes everything. Because whoever rules themselves has already conquered the world. And now, the old king, that wounded ego, those unresolved traumas, those inner voices of fear and sabotage, realizes it has no more authority. It feels that it has lost control. And now, either it bows before your light, or it will be consumed by it. This video is the beginning of the spiritual judgment of the imposter that has inhabited you. But before we continue, I have a special request. Go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel right now. Also, write 999 in the comments to declare to the universe that you are ready to take your power and break free from any control they try to impose on you. This simple action activates the algorithm, but more importantly, it activates your consciousness. Because what is about to be revealed here is not just an idea. It's a mirror, a portal, a code, a truth that will free you from the invisible control they tried to keep over you. Now, let's begin. You need to understand one essential thing. The throne was never outside. It's always been inside you, waiting for you to awaken to who you really are. But while you were asleep, forces within your mind, memories, conditioning, distorted voices, took control. Like silent usurpers, they ruled your decisions, your emotions, your worldview. They wore crowns that never belonged to them. But now, something has changed. You're no longer obeying those voices automatically. And this change, no matter how small it may seem, is the spark that starts the collapse of the imposter. The he mentioned in the title can have many faces. For some, it's guilt. For others, it's fear. For many, it's the voice that tells you that you'll never be enough. But they all have something in common. They only existed because you believed you weren't the owner of the throne. They lived off your absence. But now that you are present, now that you are aware, they tremble. Because no lie can stand in front of an awakened soul. And this is where the real battle begins. Not between you and the world, but between you and everything that was placed inside you to limit you. Mastering the world is easy for those who have learned to master themselves. But no one talks about how much this hurts. No one talks about the chaos that happens inside when you take the crown off the inner imposter. It writhes, screams, tries to negotiate. It tries to convince you that change is dangerous, that it's better to stick with old habits, old fears, old pains, because it knows if you don't back down now, it will disappear. And you'll discover what it means to live as someone at peace with their own existence. But this is a choice only you can make. Many try to take the world before conquering themselves. But true power arises when you choose not to react as you did before, even when you have all the reasons to do so. When you choose silence where there once was shouting. When you act with clarity where there was once confusion. Each of these seemingly small decisions are, in fact, real decrees. They are acts of spiritual authority. They are proof that you have taken the throne. And each time you rule over yourself, everything that once dominated you begins to lose strength. Not because you're fighting, but because you stopped feeding the imposter. The wounded ego doesn't want to bow. It wants to rule forever. It will use spiritual arguments, emotional memories, and even voices from the past to keep you away from the center. Because deep down, it knows that if you sit on this throne, it ceases to exist. But there's a secret. The throne is not conquered by force, but by presence. When you are whole within yourself, conscious, aligned, the false king has nowhere to dwell. It's not destroyed by war, but by the absence of nourishment. And its nourishment was your doubt, your absence, your distraction. And that's why the moment you are living now is so sacred. You may feel that something is being uninstalled within you. Old thought patterns, reactive impulses, distorted narratives, all of this begins to crumble. Because your presence is increasing. Your consciousness is growing. You're no longer looking at life as someone suffering passively. Now you observe with authority. You respond with wisdom. You feel with depth. And that is the true throne, a place of elevated consciousness where no lie can survive. This is where the true revolution begins. Not in the streets, not in government, but within the mind and soul of the chosen one. Because when you change inside, everything around you starts to reorganize. People feel it. Situations adjust. And what once seemed impossible becomes natural. You don't need to prove that you're on the throne. Just be. And the energy you carry starts to affect everything. And the imposter, whether it's a thought, an emotion, or a mental structure, is now faced with a final choice: bow or perish. Because the true king has come home. Most people believe that reigning is about controlling others, but true reign begins in the invisible. At that moment, when you feel an old trigger calling you, and yet you choose the path of consciousness. That is mastery. That is true power. The throne is not the place of the one who commands. It's the place of the one who sustains. Sustains silence when they could shout. Sustains truth when they could manipulate. Sustains light when darkness offers shortcuts. And you can only sustain all of this when you know who you are. When you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. When just your existence orders everything around you. The ego, the trauma, the old self. They all try to make you believe that reigning requires violence. But the throne is not taken by force, but by courage. Courage to face the dark corridors of your mind. Courage to look in the mirror and say, "Yes, I created this prison, but I'm also the one who will break every bar." This courage is not common. It's rare. That's why few make it this far. That's why this video is not for everyone. But if you're still here, it's because something inside you is already ready to let die what never truly lived. Perhaps you think you're losing something by leaving behind old behaviors, people, places. But what's really happening is the death of a version of you that couldn't bear the weight of the truth. The truth that you've always had the power. The truth that all along the key was with you. And now that you know this, there's no going back. The imposter will try everything to convince you that this transformation is dangerous, radical, even wrong. But listen closely. Dangerous is continuing to hide from yourself. Wrong is living a life that isn't yours. You need to understand. The ego only survives where there's identification. It's not real on its own. It is fed by what you believe yourself to be. If you believe you are small, it governs. If you believe you are insufficient, it commands. But when you remember that you are made in the image and likeness of the Creator, it dissolves. Because this remembrance repositions you at the center. It reconnects you to the throne. And at that center, the ego is unnecessary. Presence occupies all the space. And it's this presence that transforms everything. Not with noise, but with frequency. Not with argument, but with light. At this moment, you may be feeling a restlessness. It's natural. The throne is adjusting to your presence. And every true presence causes discomfort in the parts that are still unhealed. Don't run from this. Face it. Dive into it. Because the throne is made of truth, and truth hurts before it sets you free. It exposes the imposter, rips off the masks, confronts the patterns, but it also heals, rebuilds, reorganizes. And this is what's happening to you now. A silent, invisible, but real reconstruction. And when this work is done, no one will be able to take you from your place. If you look back, you'll realize how many times you've been close to this throne and stepped back. Maybe out of fear. Maybe because you still believed you weren't worthy. But now it's different. Now you're not just approaching. You're entering. You're sitting. You're assuming. And there's no going back. Because when a chosen one awakens, the entire universe reorganizes around their step. That's why the struggles intensify. That's why the chaos increases. Because the old world tries to resist the new king, but it has already lost. Because the king has arrived, and the throne is finally occupied. Now that you're on the throne, notice how everything starts to test you. Not because you're wrong, but because the universe wants to know if you're ready to sustain what has been given to you. Challenges come as silent tests. Will you react as before, or will you respond? As a king, will you run from discomfort, or will you use it as fuel to grow? This is the true spiritual initiation. It's not about perfection. It's about presence, about awareness, about knowing who you are, even when everything around you tries to make you forget. It's about sustaining the light in the middle of chaos. You are no longer in the same place you started. Perhaps the people around you still don't notice, but the universe has already noticed. The doors that were once locked begin to open. The cycles that seemed endless start to dissolve. Because now there's a new ruler in command, a new level of consciousness at the center. And this consciousness is your weapon, your armor, your shield. Because those who govern with wisdom don't need to raise their voice. Their presence already issues decrees, and everything that's false around you will inevitably crumble. This throne demands more than status. It demands responsibility. It demands integrity. It demands that you align with the truth even when no one is watching. And this is not easy, because ruling over yourself also means accepting that the old version of you will try to sabotage this new cycle. But you no longer need to fight with it. Just observe. See how it acts, see how it thinks, and choose differently. This is the essence of conscious reign. The freedom to choose with clarity, to not act impulsively, to create instead of repeating. This is sovereignty. While many still live trapped by the desire to control others, you are being called to master the only thing that truly matters: yourself. This call is not light. It's not comfortable, but it's sacred. Because a soul that governs itself with justice transforms everything around it. It's like light in a dark room. It doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to push. It just needs to exist. This conscious existence is what scares the imposter, because it knows, as long as you are present, it has nowhere to hide. Your presence is its sentence, and perhaps now you realize that the great battle of your life was never against people. It was never against the world. It was against a part of you that believed it was less than it is. This part that was formed in childhood, in pain, in abandonment, and for so long, it ruled with fear. But now you see. Now you're awake. And what is seen can no longer be ignored. That's why the ego falls into despair. It knows it's facing its end. And that's why you feel this weight. It's the old king leaving the palace. It's the imposter losing the last throne it still inhabited within you. Taking the throne is not the end. It's the beginning of a new cycle, where every choice you make will be a brick in the construction of a sacred reality. You now create with intention. You walk with purpose. You think with clarity. You feel with depth. And that changes everything. The doors that once closed due to fear now open because of identity. Because the universe responds to who you are, not what you want. And now that you've assumed who you really are, the external world begins to reflect this new internal world. Its law, its vibration, its spiritual. Ruling is remembering. Remembering that you are temple, that you are altar, that you are a living extension of the source, and that, for so long, you were deceived by voices that told you otherwise. But now, the sound that echoes is that of truth. A truth that silences the lies, that illuminates the dark corridors of the mind, that undoes the old enchantments. This truth doesn't come from the outside. It springs from within. And every time you honor this truth, the throne strengthens. The foundation aligns, and the imposter dissolves. Because the false only survives in the absence of the real. You may still wonder, am I worthy of this throne? But the truth is that dignity was never the issue. The question is whether you're willing to sustain what is yours. The throne was not given by merit, but by design. You were chosen before you were born, called before you understood. And now that you are aware of this, there are no more excuses. Either you position yourself, or the imposter returns. And if it returns stronger. So, remain. Remain even when it gets hard. Because persistence is what separates the prince from the king. And you were born to reign. Now that you've firmly taken the throne, something surprising starts to happen. You begin to realize that control was never the true objective. The throne is not about imprisoning, it's about expanding. Because when you master yourself, you don't need to control others. You simply create the space for others to find their own throne as well. You serve as an example. You inspire, not through force, but through presence. You show, not by imposing, but by alignment. And this is how true power spreads. Through inspiration, through authentic presence, through those who truly rule with wisdom. Every challenge that arises on your path now will test this inner sovereignty. But remember, challenges are not enemies. They are disguised teachers. They exist to remind you that you can still grow, that you can still expand, that the throne is not something static, but dynamic, always evolving. By facing them with confidence, you strengthen your own authority. you deepen your connection with your essence. And the more you become who you truly are, the more the structures around you begin to rearrange to reflect that truth. The world cannot deny what is rightfully yours. Now, when doubt arises, and it will arise, don't get lost in it. Don't get lost in the whirlwind of thoughts and fears that have always tried to dominate you. Look at these thoughts with the distance you've acquired and realize that they are just shadows trying to make you forget who you are. There's no need to fight them. Just observe them, acknowledge them, and choose something different. True power comes from choice. From the choice not to identify with what doesn't serve your truth. And when you do that, you further reinforce your inner dominion. The throne has never been as firm as it is now. You've probably noticed that from the moment you took the throne, the world around you began to change. Some things may have disappeared. Relationships that were not aligned with your true essence may have dissipated. The old ego may have tried to make you feel like you lost something, but you didn't lose anything. What you lost was that which no longer had a place in the new cycle. And that loss, in fact, is a gain. Because you're no longer carrying burdens that aren't yours, you are free. Free to create, free to expand, free to rule with love and wisdom. As you continue this journey, other temptations will arise. The imposter will try to return, disguised as opportunities, distractions, old habits. But now you have something you've never had before: clarity. You see beyond the surface. You recognize what is true and what is illusion. The imposter can no longer deceive your vision. It may try to hide in the shadows. But now, with the power of the throne in your hands, you are the light that illuminates even the darkest corners of your soul. And by illuminating your own darkness, you dissolve all the lies that tried to imprison you. What comes next is not a matter of strength, but of constant support. The throne requires you to remain firm in who you are, even when external storms try to knock you down. But you will not fall, not anymore, because now you understand that being the throne is not about being invulnerable, but about being resilient, being flexible, but firm in your essence, being able to maintain inner peace even when chaos surrounds you. You are no longer a slave to circumstances. You are the creator of them, and that changes everything. Every choice you make now reverberates throughout the universe. And here's the biggest secret. The throne is not something you can lose, because it was never something physical, never something outside of you. The throne is you. It is your deepest identity, the place where your soul reigns with clarity and purpose. There is nothing more powerful than this understanding. When you become conscious that the throne is inside of you, there is nothing else that can take this power from you. And from this moment on, you begin to create with the same authority that you have over your own life. And the world around you begins to bend, as if recognizing who you really are. The truth is that the throne was never about dominating others, but about dominating your own life. And when you finally understand this, you realize there's no more room for fear, doubt, or scarcity. All that needs to be done now is to live according to the sovereignty you have assumed. And in doing so, you not only transform your own life, but also everything around you. Because when the throne is legitimate, everything aligns around you. There's no more resistance, no more doubt. The universe itself starts working for you, responding to your call. But don't think this is the end of the journey. On the contrary, this is just the beginning of something much greater. When you take the throne, you become responsible not only for what happens within you, but for the impact your energy has on the world around you. Every action of yours now has a purpose. Every word that comes out of your mouth has the power to create or destroy. But the greatest power of all is what you create when you're aligned with your truth. And it's this truth that will shape the world around you in ways you can't even imagine. And what happens to the imposter? It disappears. It dissolves in the face of your light because it knows it can no longer exist where truth resides. The imposter always survived from your lack of clarity. It fed off your doubts, your insecurities, your fears. But now, you are the answer. And when the truth becomes clear inside of you, everything that was hidden loses its power. The ego, the fears, the limitations, they all disappear in the light of your elevated consciousness. Perhaps the greatest challenge now is to maintain this position. The throne is something that requires constant vigilance, not because you might lose authority, but because, upon taking the throne, you connect to a greater spiritual responsibility. This responsibility is not about control, but about balance. The balance between action and rest, between speaking and silence, between giving and receiving. True leadership starts within. And this is what the throne teaches you. True leadership starts when you lead yourself. This is where you begin to realize that everything life has brought you up to this point was preparing you for this moment. Every challenge, every defeat, every victory, every loss was a lesson. Each of these experiences brought you closer to your throne, closer to understanding who you truly are. And that's why nothing has been in vain. Every step has taken you further in the direction of true sovereignty, true wisdom. And now, what you do with this power is what really matters. The throne you occupy is not just a symbol of power. It is the manifestation of everything you've overcome. It is the reflection of a soul that has risen, that has seen beyond the illusion, and in seeing itself, has conquered freedom. It's not about destroying what limited you, but about transcending, about looking at everything that once made you feel small and realizing that, instead of fighting it, you simply allowed it to disintegrate at the touch of your presence. The throne is not given, it is earned. And you, chosen one, have earned yours. And now, as you look ahead, you know that the true reign is just beginning. The world around you will be shaped by the power of your consciousness. Every choice, every movement, every word that leaves your lips will reflect the inner dominion you have achieved. And with this dominion, there will be no more room for doubts, fears, or limitations. Because now you know, you are the throne, and everything inside of you must bow to your presence. Now that you understand, the throne is yours. It's time to live in full sovereignty. True power doesn't come from the outside, but from within. And all you need to do now is continue walking with confidence, knowing the change has already begun. You no longer need to search for anything else, because everything you needed was already inside of you, waiting to be awakened. The true king doesn't rule with fear, but with wisdom and clarity. And now, you are ready to rule. If this message has touched you, leave a comment below with "I rule" to declare to the universe that you now occupy the place of power that has always belonged to you. It's not just a comment, it's a symbol of your transformation. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss the upcoming content that will continue to propel you to reach your full potential. Share this video with those who also need to awaken to the power that resides within them. I want to sincerely thank all those who support us through the Buy Me a Coffee link. Your support helps this message reach more lives, and we continue improving the content of this channel. If you also want to be a supporter, our link is pinned in the first comment. And remember, Chosen One, your journey is just beginning. Don't stop now and click on the video suggested on the screen or our playlist of the secrets of the Chosen Ones to strengthen your spirit against the resistances that may arise when you position yourself as the true king of your life. Thank you for being with us until now, and may God bless you.